Hi there, and welcome to our webinar entitled How to Build High-Performing Teams in a Candidate Market. So listen, thanks for joining us today. My name is Peter Banks. I am the founder and MD of the HR Director. We are a strategic resource for senior HR and people leaders in print, person, and online. Delighted today to partner with Lever, who are a leading recruitment and HR software developer. So let's get underway. A brief intro to this webinar is really one recent headline from Bloomberg highlights 465,000 people are missing from the workforce in the UK alone since COVID hit. So just how are companies adjusting during this tight market, and how can they create an appealing opportunity to high-performing candidates throughout the process? And do so in an inclusive manner. So these are the sort of areas we're going to tackle today. Delighted to have with us today Ash Mullan. Ashley, who is the business recruiter at Lever. So hi Ash, I was going to say good morning, which it is for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Good morning. Good morning to you, and really excited to be here today.
Brilliant. Ash, what I think would be a useful start is if you can just let us know a little bit about you, your role, and the organization,
Sure.
please.
Yeah, absolutely. So hi, everyone. So delighted to be here once again. My name is Ash, and I'm a senior recruiter at Lever. I'm actually based in Toronto, Canada. I have about 10 years of working experience as a recruiter, 6 of which have been working in SaaS-focused recruiting. I tend to focus mostly on the business side of recruiting, especially at Lever. So marketing, design, along with customer success and operations in both Canada, the United States, and Europe. Done a little bit of recruiting in APAC. Super passionate about the candidate experience. So once again, love being here. This is something that I really enjoy chatting about. And working with hiring managers for process improvement, unconscious bias. Lever, we are a recruiting ATS, so an applicant tracking system and talent relationship management platform. That's an all-in-one recruiting suite. We have amazing integrations that allow us to really encompass everything that our customers may need to make a qualified hiring decision. You know, we have over 4,500 customers at the moment. We actually hit some amazing goals recently with both our revenue and our Series D in funding. Actually, in the past few months, we've raised about 100 million. And then, yeah, just reached over 60 million in ARR last year. So really excited to be a part of this, representing Lever. And yeah, I'm pumped to talk with everyone today.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks, Ash. I'm just checking on the bits and pieces on the side here. Someone's saying they can't hear us, so hopefully everyone can hear us, and it's just that one person. So Hadi, I'm sure I'll check on that in the background. Listen, okay, hopefully you can, if anyone can't hear us, just drop a little message on there and we'll look into that, but it should all be working. Right, first question then. Let's look at our first question to get this underway, Ash. So I guess this is the whole crux of this, isn't it, really? Through all these huge change in times we've had post-COVID. So, you know, what is top talent looking for in their next opportunity? Because they've had a real rethink here, you know, in many cases. Give us a flavor of what you're seeing.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. I mean, talent has changed, right? As we all probably know here, post-COVID, individuals, candidates are really rethinking their careers, their flexibility. Some of the top things that I know we've been noticing more specifically would be, you know, hybrid work or remote policy, what that looks like. Definitely, you know, with this new talent and the new normal, I guess you could say, with work situation, you know, which companies are, you know, kind of getting back into the swing of things, possibly going into a hybrid work situation here in North America. I know in Toronto for myself and into the United States as well, we are looking at possibly getting back into a hybrid situation with, you know, maybe even 2 to 3 days a week going back into the office. Candidates, do they really want to do that anymore? You know, like, so that's an important piece. Like, everyone's been so used to working at home and with one another remotely. So, you know, that's definitely top of mind for us, is just, you know, what is our plan for sure, and what talent is actually looking for with that. Benefits also super important, how benefit perks have changed. You know, for us at Lever, one thing that we've been really looking to focus on is these work from home policies and the work from home perks. Right now, you know, candidates are focused on, you know, if I have to be at home, what are you going to take care of for me so that I can have an ideal working situation? home office setup included, obviously there. A work hour flexibility comes along with that as well. You know, having been work from home for so long, at least for us, you know, children getting back into school, being able to have that flexibility to be working at home with your children at times, right? Especially for us, we've noticed that we've been welcoming that some of our employees have to take that time during the day, work from home to help their kids with school. So, you know, are they still able to do that if their kids are still working from home? Company culture, employee connection, I would say, is something for us as a culture here at Lever that we focus on. So it's definitely company-wide to department level and even to one-on-one management style. For us at Lever, one thing that we've been able to focus on is being able to get together. We actually get together every second Thursday as an entire company. So I think there's just over 250 of us. We have an all hands. Really, candidates are wanting to feel that connection with one another, and especially up to the leadership level. And then in terms of like the actual process itself, making sure it is accustomed to create a really great candidate experience along the way. Candidates want to feel special, right? Even though we're working from home, even though we're not able to meet physically in the flesh, but via Zoom, they want to know that you're engaged. They want to know that they're a priority for your day as you interview them. So I think it's really important for us to think of these top things that I've noticed candidates really, really keeping top of mind as they're searching for a new role, possibly.
Yeah, I think, you know, this whole thing of rethinking careers, isn't there? This whole thing of being used to working a very different way now, very flexible around home life work, and I think, you know, there's a lot of buy-in to that, which is some real positives that have come from this. So I agree. I think, and then that's why it's making it much more difficult to, you know, to make sure you can retain that or find that best talent. Okay, let's run our first poll. We've got a first poll which pop up on your screen now. So this one really is, we're just looking at the screening, really, just looking at kind of screening for high performers. So how do you screen for high performers? And there's three options really here. So A, we ask about metrics. B, we have them complete an exercise / project. Or C, we currently haven't cracked the code on this. So just three. Just have a go at that one and just give us your answers on that one, so we can just see where our audience is sitting at the moment. Ash, coming back to you then. So just some predictions there. Then what are you thinking you're going to see come top there?
I feel like, I mean, for us at Lever, and maybe what I'm predicting is probably leaning on the number 2. We like to use an exercise or a prompt with most of our, with almost all of our roles, honestly, in some sort of an assignment presentation piece. So my prediction would say probably the second, just from my own experience.
Okay. Right, let's see if we've got enough response coming in now to just take a look at those numbers. Well, actually, highest showing at the moment is 55% with we haven't cracked the code on this yet, followed by 36% we have them complete an exercise / project, and only 9% we ask about metrics. So any surprises there then, Ash?
Honestly, I don't blame anyone for having not cracked the code on this. It is challenging to screen for high performers at times, depending on the role as well. So obviously, I think that could have been a play for us. I mean, at Lever, you know, we use a prompt typically for almost all of our roles. And if not, in terms of engineering, obviously that's an exception. I would say that let's take that engineering piece out, because that can be a little challenging, although a coding exercise would be in place of that. But having not cracked the code, there's nothing wrong with that. You really do have to work with what's right for your team and the roles that you're recruiting for, right? So no, I completely understand why a lot of folks maybe haven't cracked the code, but would encourage them to maybe test out a couple different things with their roles. Maybe asking for metrics, and then maybe even adding a short prompt or an exercise as part of that. We never want to make it too much effort, right? We have to really make sure that we're mindful of the candidate experience. So talking metrics and then maybe a light touch or a light lift on an assignment could be something that would work really well for those that haven't cracked the code yet.
Yeah, and equally, we're talking about this huge change, and so what people are looking for, just getting used to that in the best way. So people are developing and evolving how best to do this. So, okay, let's move on to, don't forget any questions as we go, just pop them in and we will ask them as we go. We'll ask Ash for her thoughts on those. So question 2 then, so let's have a look at how important is it to highlight diversity and inclusion in your recruitment strategy. So this, D&I is huge at the moment, quite rightly so. So give us your thoughts on that, Ash.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as I'm sure everyone here would note, diversity and inclusion is so important, and is more important than ever given some of the socio change that we've encountered here in North America, and especially some of the challenges. Diverse teams are, obviously more productive, which we found specifically at Lever. I would say super important in the recruitment strategy. So what we do at Lever is something that I actually love to share with panels, like during a panel like this. We actually commit to the company as a recruiting team to actually source and interview candidates from underrepresented minority groups. And we actually encompass those in our OKRs and our goals as recruiters at Lever. So because we have this think about it, as recruiters, we have our feet on the ground, right, Peter? Like, we actually have the opportunity to make a really big difference by just sourcing candidates that do come from underrepresented minority groups. And so for us, we've noticed we've actually noticed a really great change in our metrics. We have over 40% female leadership here at Lever. We are noticing that white males here at Lever are not the majority. No matter what, though, I always like to note, Peter, we always hire the best person for the job, right? But why not try to encourage diversity as we're sourcing, as we're interviewing? And we've noticed a huge change. We're the folks that can actually make that change, and I think that being committed to that and actually having these results displayed to our company is something that we really are passionate about. So I would say top notch. Keep it top of mind always, using these little things like just being able to make a conscious effort in sourcing to make a huge difference to your diversity metrics at a company.
And what obviously talk about the importance here and highlighting it. And so what are those little ways of highlighting?
Yeah.
You added a few there, so give us a flavor of that, could you?
Yeah, for sure. So for us, like, a diverse team, it really does empower a higher level of trust with one another, for sure. It's actually proven that the workforce is 2 to 3 times lonely when it's inclusive. We're really finding that it really brings a sense of belonging to the team. And seeing a reduction in sick days is something that we've been able to note as well. Our retention strategy is also important there. So really making sure that our diversity, equity, and inclusion metrics are where they need to be, so that when it comes time for performance and reviews, employees are really feeling confident that they have those that are represented for each of the groups that they're involved with. I would say that is, it's something that it's constantly on our minds throughout the entire process, and even into our current employees.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Ash. All right. So again, I'd keep reminding you about throwing some questions to us. So let's just do that again. So question 3 then. Let's look at opportunities and advantages. I'm really drilling down into data-driven recruiting, which I know is an area of expertise for you. So what opportunities and advantages can be gained by using data-driven recruiting?
Yeah.
I guess give us an explanation of what you're really talking about to us now.
Yeah, absolutely. So data-driven recruiting for us is looking at, time to hire, time to fill, and metrics for us. So we're very lucky that with Lever, we have awesome reporting capabilities to be able to draw, obviously, the numbers that come from this. But we look at quite a few things. The opportunities, advantages would be, really being able to analyze and review the metrics that we currently use. Time to hire, time to fill, as I already mentioned. We actually use a week-over-week tracker as well when it comes to data-driven recruiting. And what that looks like for us is we track our specific time to field goals in this week-over-week tracker. So working backwards from hire all the way up to what the number of sourcing that we need to do to get there. Most of our goals are broken down, obviously, based on whether or not it's a recurring role, the leveling, of course, and then whether it's a net new role for us at Lever. And so we work backwards there. And diversity metrics, again, is something that's really important for us with our data-driven metrics. So we're super, super lucky that at Lever, we actually have a specific, we ask for group representation, gender representation through a candidate diversity survey. We send out the survey after 7 days after the recruiting cycle finishes with such candidates, so that we can gain this information directly from the candidate, which allows us obviously to target and also to really report on those numbers. We actually also hold, in terms of our data-driven, the sourcing metrics that we have as well at Lever. So how many hires that we actually are getting from source candidates, and really empowering our hiring managers to take ownership of that as well. So I would say, as a whole, the data-driven recruiting metrics for us are super, super important, and it's something that we look at every, I would say, bi-weekly with our entire recruiting team. So there's about, I think we just actually hired 3 new recruiters. 2 of them start next Tuesday. So we have about 6 of us, plus a couple candidate experience specialists as well. So looking at these together is something that we're really focused on as a team.
So when obviously that data comes in, you're kind of overviewing it, and then just explain, I guess, how then are you using, in what ways does that inform decisions?
Right.
How are you using it?
Yeah, no, that's such a great question. So when we're looking at our data, even just our week over week, when we're able to, when we see that we're maybe getting a little behind with where we're at with our metrics, we're able to actually make changes right away. So whether it be the conversion from stage to stage, so maybe we're getting a little bit of a bottleneck right at that first panel stage for us, right? We're seeing some candidates drop off there. Well, we're able to really put in, well, first of all, sync with the hiring managers or the hiring manager to talk about, why is this happening? And then we look at what can we do to change this? And I'll just use a specific example for that. We actually noticed with one of our roles that we had a lot of individuals falling off at panel 2, and we're wondering why. Well, we actually realized that we had a pretty heavy lift for the panel 2 in terms of time and the amount of time needed, the amount of time they had spent in the process up till this point. And so when we were able to kind of see these individuals falling off 1, 2, we got together, analyzed it right away, and then shortened our panel so that we were able to make more of an effective candidate experience in a shorter amount of time. Something like that is just something that, as you have this data coming in, right, you're able to make actionable changes pretty much immediately, right, because you are reviewing it and analyzing it as much as possible. So I believe that, like, that's that's an example that we've actually honestly seen a couple times recently. So I would encourage those on the call, like, that would be something that could be an easy way, is just to look at these numbers and see, what changes we can make to really make sure that there is a great experience happening.
And that key thing is about action, isn't it? You
Exactly.
You take data, you need to work from it and do something with it. I think that's the most powerful thing you can do, and equally know why you want that data in the first place, as we always say.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Right. Let's move on then. So let's talk about. I guess this is more around candidate communication tools. So how can you leverage candidate communication tools to hire in this tight market? And we know it's a tough at the moment for employers to get the talent. So talk to us about these tools and what advantages, etc., that they can achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. For us, one tool that we love using with candidates in our process is Grayscale, which is a text tool. It integrates with a Lever, and it's actually just a way for us to text and communicate with candidates throughout the process. The bonus with Grayscale is you're not texting from your phone. You're texting from a number that is specific to Lever. And so all of these text messages, so as you're communicating with a candidate, asking them how the previous stage went, how they're feeling about the process, and maybe even congratulating them on moving forward. Everything for us is housed within Lever. So using this tool, it's all so transparent for our hiring management team as well. A tool like that obviously can be very, very beneficial. We also obviously use LinkedIn Recruiter as a candidate communications tool for sourcing and communicating with candidates along the way. And with for passive candidates, one thing that we're also really able to use at Lever is Lever Nurture. And so Lever Nurture is a tool where we actually use Intello to grab email addresses, and then we send out nurture campaigns, is what we call them, to engage with passive candidates as well as candidates that may be looking for a new opportunity. Now, what I wanted to highlight with that is not just that we're able to actually just message them, but for a certain group of candidates, what we're actually able to do through Lever Nurture is we're actually able to send out a newsletter type to keep candidates engaged and keep Lever top of mind. So for candidates that say, and I'm just going to use a random example, are all full stack developers, well, say with us at Lever, we hired a new director of engineering, and we're doing this, that, and the other with that. We're actually able to send out more of like a light touch type of email newsletter to candidates that can really promote or can keep Lever top of mind just by getting something from us. But we tend to use it mostly for the candidate communication at the top of the funnel. But definitely tools are now, I would say, more important than ever. Video also is a big deal. I know I sat on a panel late 2021 or closer to late 2021. Feels like I don't know when that was, but it was, I think, in October. And you know, being able to have video type of communication tools for interviewing, obviously using Zoom, GoToWeb, to be able to communicate with candidates and really create a great experience that way, that's a no-brainer. I think we all know the benefits of making sure that your hiring managers and the interviewers are engaged with these tools throughout the entire interview process. But making sure, you know, that you do have these tools set up so that it can create a sense of belonging and a sense of, like, you know, a sense of belonging, a sense of like just really strong communication with the company that you're interviewing with, and making sure like that the hiring managers are highly engaged throughout the communication as they use these communication tools effectively.
Yeah, I guess when it's so competitive out there, you know, I think it's great kind of tools to, as you say, keep in touch with them, make sure, you know, they can see you're interested and care, and also show a little bit about the organization, which, you know, because you know, obviously some people are doing it as well, some people aren't doing it so well. So okay.
Yeah, and Peter, one thing I actually wanted to highlight was I joined Lever in October 2020, so right in the thick of COVID, and I actually couldn't believe it. And I don't know if it's because I'm a recruiter and we're in the industry, but you know, there's nothing worse than communicating with a recruiter or a hiring manager or as a candidate and hearing Slack pop up in the background, or like, you know, getting, you know, I mean, we've all probably heard it as we've been in meetings here and there, right? And that to me is just a small thing that can just kind of, when I was actually experiencing that, I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that just happened. I actually felt pretty mortified for the person on the other end because I'm a recruiter. But regardless, any candidate wants to feel like you're completely engaged. So something as little as that can really turn someone off, honestly. Yeah. And so it's really important to make sure that, you know, you're fully set up and properly, you're properly engaged with your video platform. Because it's just like, you know, I'm sure that you understand too, Peter, and everyone on the call. It's just, it's not a good experience, that's for sure.
I digress a bit there, but the amount of times I've been in cities and been in a cafe or somewhere, and I have a recruiter trying to interview someone in a cafe, I find it quite astounding. That sort of
I'm like, I don't even know how someone can do that.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
I digress as well.
So yeah, so the beauty of here, we got tech, which can kind of come in place and actually, you know, because we moved on, and this tech has been such a massive enabler, and I think what you're showing us is that you can use it, keep that engagement, keep that communication going. Okay. Good. Okay. Any again, remember, any questions? No questions as yet. You must be all saving them to the end, I reckon. So okay. Let's look at some tangibles then, Ash, can we? And I hope you've got some for us. So, you know, can we look at some examples of companies who you're seeing, you know, success with, and why? You know, what are they doing?
Yeah.
You know, what are they doing right? You know.
Yeah. Well, one company specifically was Atlassian with us. Atlassian, obviously a great company, pretty large, and they actually were able to. They switched over to Lever, and some of the results that we saw from their study was incredible. We were actually able to attain this information directly from Atlassian. Seamless collaboration was a big deal for them. They have like hundreds of recruiters, obviously, given it's such a huge company. So being able to have collaboration within the platform, full transparent feedback forms were there. And so they were able, I should say, to really have notes and understandings of the candidates that have been in process and whether or not they'd be able to re-engage with them in the future. We actually also saw, as a tangible example, over 80% of interview feedback forms for them were created on time. And so for us at Lever, one thing that we try to do is get our hiring managers to give us feedback so that we can obviously give candidate feedback as soon as possible, at least within 24 hours of the interview, so that we can get back to the candidate at the latest within 72 hours. And that's what they found as well, being able to convert from stage to stage in a shorter amount of time, keeping candidates highly engaged during those few days, coupled a few days after that interview. And if they didn't have the actual feedback yet, that it was on its way, they were following up. Stay tuned, we'll be back with it shortly. And so really making sure that the hiring managers were engaged to get the stuff that we need to make our job successful, to ultimately get them the hires that they need to make their job successful, right? And then one other really fun fact that we had was over 30% of their hires were sourced. And so they were using, a tool like Level and Nurture or a direct messaging tool, direct to email, which it actually resulted in them getting, hires quite quickly. And so they actually grew Atlassian to over 49,000 employees, and their presence in Bangalore, India, was super exciting to see for us at Lever, and something that obviously as a team we're really proud of as well. For them to be able to really have some exponential growth by, using these tools to get in front of candidates and create a really great candidate experience along the way.
Good. So that and is there any other clients that you've got examples of doing something slightly different that you could kind of share? I'm dragging stuff. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
No problem. I'm just trying to think.
Different angles there.
Well, I was involved with I actually worked at a company. So I had 2 years, just to digress for 1 minute. I had 2 years of working experience with Lever before joining the Lever team. And so I was actually able to see some of the benefits of using Lever. We were actually using a competitor. This is at a company called Top Hat in Toronto, Canada. So I worked there for about 18 months. I was actually on contract for a little while. It started off as 3 and ended up going up to 18 because we, as a recruiting team, we switched over to Leather. And one thing that we noticed right off the bat, and we were actually tasked with let's double the company in size after the Series C came through. And so immediately we're like, okay, kind of revamping, like what can we do to create a really great experience? We were at about 160 employees. And so what we actually wanted to do was track stage by stage. Now it sounds really micromanaged, and it was, but I will say that it was so beneficial to us because it actually taught us, first of all, to use the Lever tool really properly, to actually send out a daily report to the executive team about each candidate in each stage for every single role. I know it sounds crazy, but it really helped. And so what I'm getting at here is the reporting capabilities at Lever were really allowed us to showcase, what we were doing obviously on a daily basis, and then how long it was actually taking us to get the time to hire from there. And so at Top Hat, we were able to double the company in size from 160 to 342 in 18 months. And we actually attributed our success to really having the reporting capabilities and being able to analyze the metrics pretty regularly to get us over the line there. I hope that example is a different showcase. And It's actually one that's personal and pretty close to my heart, because it was a really great experience for us.
Yeah, and that's a really good one, Ash, because it does show, what you saw previously with a previous supplier as well. So, okay, yeah, and key, I guess, in all of this, isn't it? And now you keep talking about speed, and I think from initial conversation to point of hire, isn't it? I mean, and so that again, technology allows that speed to kind of increase, which is so, I think, vital, isn't it? Good. Yep. Okay. let's
Absolutely.
go to our next poll, shall we? So this is going to pop up
Sure.
on your screen now. So this one, we're getting into kind of KPIs. So the question is, what KPIs do you look at most in today's candidate-driven market? So is it A, time to hire, B, diversity metrics, C, email response metrics, D, offer acceptance rate, or E, I don't look at metrics enough? So if you can all have a go at that poll for us, please, and let's get a flavor of, again, what you're thinking. You know, Ash, I'm coming back to you again now, so I hope you're having a look at those as well. So
Yeah.
where are you predicting here will be sort of top one, top two?
I probably would think that time to hire possibly would be up there for the poll today with this. Also offer acceptance rate. I mean, for us, number 1 and 4 there are probably the most important for us, and obviously we can maybe get into that a little bit further, but those are some that we actually track regularly as a recruiting team, and we meet every 2 weeks now. As an entire team, and about 4 times normally a week for a quick meeting, but like a stand up. But yeah, those are the 2 that just from my experience, what we look at the most, just when it comes to like KPIs directly for the team. Of course, the diversity is up there too for us, but I would think maybe with the poll 1 and 4, but
good. All right, sounds good. So let's have a little look at what we've got in terms of responses. So yeah, 55% is top. So time to hire is 55%. And then you can see on the screen. So and then there we go. So I don't look at metrics enough, and offer acceptance rate pretty much the same. Nothing on email response metrics, interesting enough, and diversity metrics fairly low at the moment, and I wonder if that will gradually hopefully change as well. So okay, and so thoughts asked quickly on well, not quickly, but on those findings. Pretty much.
I'm glad that I got that one close this time around. Yeah, and so absolutely. I would say that's something that we're finding at Lever, that those are the 2 that are the most important to us. And then looking at like maybe they don't track that many metrics yet, that's okay too. Maybe this is just maybe as we continue to talk and keep these things top of mind, that you know, it's important to possibly maybe start looking at them. So I would encourage those that maybe don't look at metrics yet. It could be good as you sit with us today and see some of the reasons why it's worked really well for us. And yeah, definitely, I understand why those would be the case for sure.
Okay, good. All right, so let's move on to our next question. So this one, well, this again is about measurement, I guess, to some degree, in success.
Yeah.
So how do you measure success and recruiting efficiency over time?
Yep.
How do you tackle that one?
Yeah, I mean, and so honestly, I definitely feel like some of the points that was just in the poll, we've been chatting about them, I think, a lot during this session as well. But time to hire, I think it's important for us to set realistic goals with hiring managers, setting ourselves up for success as a recruiter. You know, that's so important, is building that trust and that partnership. Something that I am really passionate about with hiring managers. Definitely want to make sure that we're not saying that we can fill something in 30 days when, you know, when we may not be able to do that. Maybe looking at maybe how long it took at a previous hire in around the same type of role. Set yourself up for success. Be realistic about your goals. You would rather you don't want to over promise and under deliver, as they say, right? So really look and see if there's any history. If not, give yourself extra time and be honest about that, about the time setting up time to hire. Sourcing channels are also really important for us. So, you know, whether it comes from a referral, which, you know, I think everyone on the call will admit as well, is like our favorite type of hire is getting a really strong referral from someone who already works at the company. Absolutely. But track where the hires are coming from. That's really important as well. Something that we look at as a recruiting team. Tracking our conversion metrics, of course. So from stage to stage, what we're looking at. Pretty easy to get into that. If you're not working with a specific ATS currently at the moment, you can actually still even do this. Obviously would encourage you to, if you're not, maybe talk to one of us at Lever, but One thing that we really, you can even do is just set this up in Excel for the time being if you have a smaller organization. Interview to offer, of course, another important ratio that we look at here. Offer acceptance rate. We actually at Lever and my team, we actually strive for 80% offer acceptance rate. We're normally around that every single quarter. We normally don't go to, I mean, things happen. We all know that. We don't live and die by the 80%, but if we could try to get there, that's where we prefer to be. Actually, right now, we looked at our fiscal so far. We're at 85% offer acceptance rate. So knock on wood, hopefully we can keep that going. A cost per hire, something that we also looked at. I was actually in the same, I was in a panel, as I mentioned, and I think it was October of last year. And I actually found this to be astounding, but depending on the leveling, it can actually cost up to $600,000 for a bad hire, which is insane, but something like that it's important to look at as a company grows and as a team grows. Reporting and metrics just in general, I would say as a whole, just to cap on all of this and measuring the success of them. It doesn't happen overnight. That's the other piece of it as well. So I know some folks mentioned that they don't currently have a lot of things set up to look at metrics, and that's okay. Maybe tackling one or two really small metrics just to keep some sort of tracking, and you'd be surprised at how quickly things can change and turn around and watch your success go up even higher. But don't go full force. You don't need to do everything all at once either. I think it's important to note that.
Yeah, and again, as you say, that data almost got to build up to start seeing patterns, and I guess you're reviewing that regularly. You know, I think you're talking monthly almost there, but and then you do see trends, you do see things that you can tweak and improve on as well.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Still no questions yet for us, unfortunately. So I will move on to our next question. So.
No problem.
So let's look at this. So I guess it's bringing us. This is kind of, let's not talk about the past. Let's bring us bang up to date. You know, so what are the biggest challenges facing recruiters in the months ahead? So this is very much now and the future.
Yeah, great. This is a great question, and probably the answers are some things that are no surprise for our group here today. But hybrid work situation. Definitely important for us to make sure that you understand where your company currently is and where your company is going to go with this. And you don't need to have all of the answers right now, as I mentioned, and that's for me as well at Lever. Like, we don't have anything set in stone. I just try to promote what we currently do and how we're staying connected. So looking at your hybrid work situation, that can be a challenge, but really focusing on the positives for your team and where that's going to head. Shortage of talent. I mean, let's be honest, the fight for talent is pretty crazy for us right now. So really trying to ensure that that we're remaining competitive, looking at compensation metrics. We actually use Radford, which is a compensation data, and it is we actually look at and focusing on even leveling up our compensation to companies that are larger than ours, just to remain competitive in the market. If you can, that's great, but it's just important to be able to see market trends for your compensation as well. Also, salary, bonus, all of these things are, again, just kind of looped into making sure that you're on par there. And then, of course, just the overall demand of talent makes us keep candidate experience top of mind moving forward for, I would say, as part of the future and forever. Let's be honest. But making sure that we do have that your company is really providing a great candidate experience through making sure that your interviewers are all interview trained, making sure that they understand how to create a good experience through these types of technologies, and keeping these things top of mind. I think all of them, just as a whole, the things that I mentioned are really, really important as we look ahead into the new normal, as they say.
And what do you think? I always think this was quite an interesting one. What about there's all talk about salary is the key thing, but actually a lot of people say no, it's not the key thing, and then a lot of people say no, actually it is. But I mean, obviously we've gone through some huge change, and I know you mentioned some of these things there. equally, there's things about, from a recruitment point, the brands, what it stands for, the CSR is really, there's lots of kind of elements like that coming in now, isn't it? So I guess my question is, how important are those versus the salary, or do you feel the salary is always kind of number one, or where's
I do not think that salary is number one, of course, but I do know that it does matter. As you mentioned, Peter, candidates will say, salary isn't everything. I'm looking at the opportunity. At the end of the day, it does matter, but there are definitely a lot of other outside factors that come into play that I would say are equally as important. I would say that this whole work from home benefits / perk situation is a big deal for us at Lever. Just to give a couple examples as to what we do. We actually partner with a really awesome benefit company called Level, not to be confused with Lever. It's Level, and lots of work from home benefits. So we're able to allow our employees to expense their Wi-Fi. There's a lot of other things on this list. So our US employees get $250 every single month. I'm in Canada, so the dollar, it converts to about 320 Canadian dollars every single month. But if you put that into perspective, the things that can go under that 320 for myself are incredible. Like, I don't have a dog, but dog walking service, childcare, Wi-Fi, at home office. So making sure that you're comfortable setting up. We even have an ergonomic chair type of benefit. I mean, I would say we're pretty spoiled. We have a really awesome benefit program, but like for us, these are little things that actually are playing a big deal. Making sure that folks do have that comfort level at home, and making sure that they have everything they need to do their job successfully and all the tools they need to do their job successfully. So, and then of course, staying connected, as equally as important, I would say, as salary, is just like candidates especially want to know, like, how often will I be chatting with my manager every week? How often will I be meeting with my team every single week? They want to feel connected to the team and to one another. And we found that, like, as even just part of my initial phone screens, I do a lot of that, obviously, every single day. But one thing that I'm finding is, work from home, what's your policy? And so looping in when that question's asked to everything that also we offer in terms of the small benefits and perks, and even obviously some of the ones that we're spoiled with, is important to candidates. So those are what I say. Of course, salary is important, but like that, the work from home piece, the hybrid situation is super, super important. So be proud of what your company is doing when you're explaining these types of things to candidates, because they're excited about it and they want to know for sure. And it can make or break them taking an offer at times and not.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good overview actually of kind of where we're at, isn't it? And equally at a time where people are completely, sort of shutting down the rule book and thinking, oh, actually, I want to do something completely different, and so it's a fascinating time really that we're in. Okay, sure. Last quick poll. So this one really is more for in a way for kind of Lever to kind of just have a little look at your interest really. So if we can run that one, which is next poll is, are you interested in learning more about how you can use Lever TRM to build high performing teams? So just a quick yes, please connect with me, someone at Lever, or no thank you. So if you just do that one, we won't share the results on that one.
No problem at all.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So that's kind of that. Now listen, have we got any questions at all that anyone on the call would want to ask Ash while we're here? So anything you've kind of heard or anything we've not covered today that you've got a burning question you'd like to share with us, that would be good. So just send those in. If not, if there's anything afterwards you don't want to share on the call, then please on the webinar come back to us directly afterwards. But love to kind of answer any questions you might have. So I'll just see if anything comes up while we're doing that. Actually, I kind of, if we've got a little bit of time, which we have, I think I mentioned, sure. I wondered if you had a couple of sum up kind of what advice would you give our audience today, looking to appeal to stand out from the best candidates out there. So I guess give us, I don't know if you want to do a top 2 or 3, or give us a little summary of those top tips.
Yeah, I think it's really important to keep the candidate experience top of mind always. So put yourself in the candidate's shoes. They have lots of opportunities open right now, making sure that you're really keeping your perks, benefits, all that good stuff top of mind. Make sure that you're communicating those with candidates. That's something that's super important. not only that, but just making sure that they also feel really connected to your team. I think that like during the interview process, that's a candidate's way to get to know what it would be like to work at your company. So making sure that you're providing such a great experience through the individuals that you have, making sure that they're all, interview trained up and ready to rock. I think at the end of the day, candidates are making their decisions based on how a role will affect their home life, and making sure there is that good work-life balance there. So keeping the experience is definitely one thing that I always think about, and making sure that your team is like just really engaged and also on board with creating that experience and carrying that through the entire process. Those would be probably my top one and two things that I personally think about quite a bit, and maybe some takeaways for everyone on the call today.
Yeah, no, that's great. Okay, no, that's great. Thank you. So really, we're pretty much at the end, unless anyone's got any questions. So while I'm just summarizing up, please do, if you've got any questions, send them in. But listen, we hope we provided some key learning and best practice case studies and methodology today to help you build your own high-performing team in this candidate market. Ash, big thanks to you for your excellent insights and knowledge. And thanks to Lever for partnering. Really, thanks for your time.
Absolutely. I was going to say, if anybody wanted to connect with me on LinkedIn, my name is Ashley Mullan, Mullan. I work at Lever, and I'm in Toronto, Canada. Any questions outside of this webinar, welcome to chat with me or connect with me on LinkedIn as well. Would love to chat.
Thanks, Ash. So there is a recording of the webinar. We'll get that ready, and we will share that so you can have a look again and share with colleagues, etc. And finally, thank you all for sort of joining us today and taking part and having a go at the polls. And hope to see you at another webinar in the future. So thanks, Ash.
Thanks to you, Peter. It was so nice to work with you today. Have a great day, everyone.